My ChickyTracker has these four major components. I got this 2.5 amp hour battery off of the Adafruit website, and that came recommended with this battery charge controller. I had ordered a solar panel, but it's way too big for the ChickyTracker. As you can see, this thing's about the palm of my hand, so I don't think it will work out super well. But right now I have this charge controller that you can plug the battery into here and then power the loads off to here, which is what I've done. You don't have to do that. You could just power everything off the battery. It just depends on what you want to do. But I use these wire nuts to connect everything to split the battery current between the Node MCU, which is our other major component that's going to transmit our data from the GPS to our Excel spreadsheet on the waiting computer, and then our GPS module. I tried to pull the current from the 3.3 volt cell or 3.3 volt pin here to power this, but there wasn't enough current, which is why I ended up doing this. So the last thing that we have is this GPS module, which is the GTU7. It works with the tiny GPS++ libraries that I have that you can see in the code that I'm going to provide below. It should be down there in the links. And that's, it's kind of it. So we'll see how rugged it is, but the basic idea is that the battery is going to power this microcontroller and this GPS module. We're going to get our coordinates from here. They're going to go to the microcontroller, and that'll transmit to a waiting Excel spreadsheet where we'll store the data at some rate using the Chicky server that we have. This close-up on the hardware is going to let you get some details about how I have the wires here. I have this to the VIN or the Node MCU, and this to ground, which obviously connects here on the load. And then we have these wire nuts that help us make connections from here and power this. The TX pin of the GPU has to connect to the pin that you choose to be your RX pin on your microcontroller, and the RX pin that you pick here has to connect to the TX pin that's on your microcontroller. And if I got that backwards, someone can just correct me in the comments down below or whatever, but that took me a little bit to figure out, and that was a little complicated. I think the two biggest hardware problems I had was getting the pin combinations right, and getting enough current to the GPS. So I mentioned earlier that that's why I have this here, because I couldn't use the 3.3 volt pin because it just wasn't providing enough current for the GPS module. But this current setup is working, so I'll put it together and demonstrate how it connects to the server that I wrote, which is just kind of like a really dumbed down and retooled multiplayer game server for Unity, which I may or may not share because I'm never going to make a Unity game. And what that will do is we connect the microcontroller here using some libraries that were generously provided online that let us connect to an Excel spreadsheet where we're going to upload our GPS coordinates. Here we got the ChickyTracker on with the battery power. So all we need to do is push the reset button, which should make the device connect to the server. Push that there, and then we should see a little. There it is. And then it'll throw an exception for one reason or another. Doesn't seem to make a difference. And then you'll see it starts writing our latitude and longitude and the date and time that it's collected to our Excel spreadsheet. So there's a couple things we need to fix. We know we need to make it connect whether you need to push the reset button or not. So whenever it loses a connection, it's always wanting to make a new one after a certain period of time, and maybe reduce the amount of time points we take. But if you guys are interested in seeing the progress, just hit the subscribe and like button. I'd super appreciate it. And I'll be making some upgrades and get this on a chicken soon.